Since 2004, there has been a director whose mere presence generates awe and conversation. A director whose name shakes the very foundation of the film industry. A director whose vision crafts unforgettable and lasting experiences. That director is Zack Snyder. And on December 20th, during Deck the Halls of Justice, we at MulDiversity will decide once and for all what is his magnum opus. 8 films, 8 years, 1 director, and 1 bracket. On Sunday, December 20th, MulDiversity will release the Snyder Cup. Tune in and help us raise money for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. This is why we fight, and this is us united. What's up, y'all? In a world where MulDiversity is needed most, we will be MulDiversity and give it to you like no one else has. And now that that's out of the way, welcome to MulDiversity, y'all. I am Quamon Star G. We are your keys to the MulDiverse, and one more again for the 3rd chapter. We are right back in it like we've never left before, and we got some straight fire topics, some hard-hitting, no-nonsense, and a little nonsense topics that we are going to give it to you. But in any case, let's go ahead and introduce everyone else. So let's get it started.
What's up, everybody? I'm Avian Knighton from Grambling, Louisiana, and tonight we've got a great show for y'all, and we're going to get into it. So I'm excited. Let's do this.
Hey, everyone. It's me, Joe. I am excited to be here. Let's just get into some topics. Hey, Gillis.
And of course, this is Aaron Michael, the Bootsy Collins of the group. I am so excited for tonight.
Not just that, now we kikiing already. What's up? I'm Mike. Welcome to another episode. Thanks for coming out. Bootsy Collins.
Yerp. And we got a hell of a show for Wrecked Up. A lot has happened, a lot has transpired, and it's time, as Owen Hart once said, enough is enough, and it's time for a change. And that is what we're going to give y'all. We're going to give y'all a change of viewpoints on a lot of topics and a lot of things. But before we do that, at the beginning, in case you missed it, if not, don't worry, we will show it again at the end. But we showed the trailer for what we at MulDiversity will be doing this Sunday at 9 a.m. EST at the during the Deck the Halls of Justice charity live stream event. We will take all 8 of Zack Snyder's films. I'm talking Dawn of the Dead. I'm talking 300. I'm talking Legends of the Guardians, The Owls of the Yahoo. I'm talking Sucker Punch. I'm talking Man of Steel. I am talking BVS. I am talking Watchmans, and I'm talking Snow Steam Iron, and they will all go head to head to head to head to head to head to head. And I hopefully said that 8 times, and hopefully that was what the case was. But we will be putting them in brackets, 2 1-on-1, single elimination, and we will be discussing and determining what film is his best. Will Watchmen pull away with ease? Will BVS finally stake its claim that the majority of us has felt like for years now? Will an underdog like Dawn of the Dead or Snow Steam Iron take the dub? Who knows? But you will. this Sunday. You absolutely will. You right there. I'm talking to you. You're gonna know. And it's gonna be awesome. It's called the Snyder Cup. We will be releasing it. And enough about what we're just gonna be doing. I'm gonna toss it to Joe to give you a full rundown on just what to expect from Deck the Halls of Justice this Sunday. Joe?
Well, it's going to be several hours. Started off, I think, just being like 12 hours of events. But we're going to have several hours of streaming, of shows. There's going to be special guests. There's going to be, artists. There's even an international component that's going to be up. There will be, and the whole thing is to get us to the last few dollars we need. I say few dollars, but I think it's like, still like 20 grand or something. Get us to the last few dollars we need to the $500,000 raised for suicide prevention. So, I mean, as you guys know, the Zack Snyder's Justice League, or the Snyder fans, have all been together raising money for suicide prevention this whole time while they've been, bugging the hell out of WB for the movie. Now we got the movie. We're still not going to give up on the charity. I mean, why would we do something like that? That's just kind of stupid. So Zach came on to a show and said, we're almost at $500,000, and shocked everybody. So, they thought, well, why don't we just, close that gap and close that distance and get to that $500,000 mark before 2020 closes, and we'll have something good to come out of this year. So, come watch us, come open your pockets, get that donation in before the year end, because you will need that tax deduction. And you will need that good, that good positive vibe going into Christmas. So, yeah, so that is.
Absolutely. We got Gillis in the chat. Shout out. She's out there multitasking. Gotta feed them kids. We are. You know how it is. We love it. Can't get, we love the kids. Gotta make sure they full and healthy. But yeah, we have a lot to talk about tonight. Basically, between Ray Fisher finally getting done what he needed to get done, what he said he was going to get done, and Warner Media letting everyone know that they will be enacting taking remedial actions against parties involved that accosted the members of the Justice League cast, if not more. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about, just this general feeling of 2 steps forward, 8 steps back when it comes to inclusiveness and diversity and cancel culture as well. Just a lot of hot fire for you guys. But in any case, in a little bit of breaking news, Leonard Roberts from Heroes, he posted an op-ed, not an op-ed. Joe, help me out here. What's the proper nomenclature for what he did? In the way for the variety piece, what's the proper term to describe it? Not opinion, because he's stating the fact. I'm drawing a blank here. Somebody help me out. I'm drowning.
Expose.
I'm about to say, yeah, he basically told what was done to him after all these years,
Okay, so we're gonna say, yeah, expose it is. So, yeah, expose, if you will, about his short tenure on Heroes. For those who don't remember, he was the father to whatchamacallit, the little boy's character, and he was the husband to Ali Larter's character in the show, and he died at the beginning of season 2. And he basically just expressed his experiences on the show, and just the rampant racism he dealt with. It seemed, and not even it seemed, if you read the article, you can see it was overt. But the way he was experiencing everything, the way he was just Like he would talk about how Ali Larder was like didn't want to be intimate in the scenes with him, despite despite her being intimate with the white co-stars on the show. Just a lot of talking down to him. It's a very sad read, especially considering the climate and just the other stories that has come out now. Anyone who want to take the lead on this, because this is a very, very heavy topic.
Yeah, this is nothing new. Like, we shouldn't really be surprised by this because this has happened to where black actors have always felt sidelined, or like if there's any kind of racial tension on set, the producers, the showrunners, the writers, the directors, they won't stand up for them. They feel cornered and they feel pressured, and if they don't leave the show, they'll be labeled as difficult, and then they'll have a reason to fire them, and that's when they lose their job, and that's just not right.
Yeah, I think the fact that it's become almost the norm, that's a very horrible testament for what Hollywood was and what it basically has stayed. It hadn't even become this thing. It's just a continuous effect of racism. That's all it is. It's just bigotry and racism, and the fact that Leonard felt to make this after all of these years, since Heroes has been canceled, like this should have been stated as soon as it happened. What he talked about season 1, this all happened in season 1. This should have been talked about then, but then again, look at the times. We're in the same exact structure, and it's an awful testament. And as we're going to get further into it tonight, it just nothing has changed for a myriad of reasons, but until more of these come out, nothing's going to change, because it's just going to be people like us having our opinions on it, while the executives and all the movers and shakers, they keep on doing business as usual.
Complacent, just completely complacent.
Absolutely.
And I think that it needs to be pointed out what you said. They're going to keep doing what they're doing. Can you put the article back up again for just a second?
Yeah.
The one thing I want to point out is just how passive. If you scroll all the way down to the where was it at? Maybe it was at the top. It's like the second paragraph. And look at it. He's saying all these things. So he's saying all these things about Ali Larder and what happened with his co-star, and with the showrunner basically trying to pacify her and trying to get him to go along with things so that she can be okay. But at the top of the article, it says that the showrunner didn't dispute any of this, praised Leonard for his position on the set and on the show. I want people to understand this passive behavior. I think Avia said this beforehand when we were talking about it. Passive behavior. This is a way of just making it, it's Hollywood business as usual. This is a way of saying the black guy didn't do anything wrong, but we're not going to condemn the white girl either, even though we're kind of agreeing with him, but we're not saying anything. And this keeps everybody's hands clean, everybody out of the space where there's a lawsuit can happen. We're not doing that. And it just kind of, nobody has to touch the mess. It stays there. And it stays on, and it stays there. It stays, out of sight. So they think. But we all know the black person is the one carrying around all this. The black person is the one suffering. The black person is the one who had to wait 10 years before he got another. It was 10 years before Leonard got another show, which was what was it, Magicians? When he was a regular.
Yeah. I didn't know he was on Magicians.
King Idri. I loved his role in Magicians. But anyway, it's just I wanted people to understand this passive, ness that goes where nobody says anything, nobody touches anything, nobody does anything, and it's kind of insidious, and it makes it to where this behavior keeps going on and on and on and on. So
I just want to point out this line right here where it says, "My voice felt muted and my light dim. Fighting against the isolation brought on by both was at time all consuming." That's crazy. Like, to say that his that he really know he couldn't speak on it because it probably would have made him look bad because of his color, because he was a person's color, and it probably would have made him look bad in the situation. And then he said his light was down, so we don't know how that affected him as being an actor in that time frame. And you saying your light is being down, he probably didn't want to do anything or anything like that, or probably mesh with anybody else because he doesn't know if anybody's going to treat him differently than what he was treated on here.
Yeah, and it would make you cautious like that. It would. If y'all have to read this article, everybody out there, you have to read this article because, I mean, he gets into detail about what happened. Like, I mean, the part where oh, you mean Bailey on the show? Probably, but there's a part where he talks about how all they wanted her to do was lower one of her straps on her shirt, like on. And so that, it was beneath the cover, so it could look like they had just, done something, right? She didn't want to do that. And she kept saying she didn't want to do that until she was yelling about being disrespected and being something she didn't want to do as a woman on the set. That girl knew what she was doing. She knows what she was doing. She knew she had a black man standing there, and she had a white male showrunner, and she had put them in a position to where there was no way for them to come out of this okay. Neither of them were going to come out of this situation okay. And so they had to placate her. And then later talking about, oh, I hope our discussion counts, it will stay between us. And I'm glad he put in there the discussion was on the sound stage, because their discussion was between everybody who was within listening distance. But okay.
Yeah, Gillis points out, makes a great statement. Informal racism has many outfits. So essentially, it's like, it doesn't matter at all what, like, there's so many ways that they can use racism and try to clean it up. So it's like, oh, we're not being racist. We're just following this, that, and the third. No, but your actions are racist. And going back to what Joe said, yeah, Allie knew what the fuck. She knew what she was doing. She knew she was trying the verbiage she was using, the tone, the fact that she had a little bit more cachet than Leonard, meaning that her words to go. And then just as a person who was heavily in watching Heroes at the time of its heyday, I mean, like, Allie's character in the show, all three of them that she's played, constantly was like in romantic relationships that was very much adult oriented and whatnot, and that was with characters that were not associated, marital status, like just simple flings. None of them was black, and she just like was, and some of them were slightly more explicit than what they were doing there. So it's like it's a lot of it's a crock of BS. It's a really crock of BS.
Yeah, well, he puts it in there though. He writes about how after one scene with another co-star, he talked to the guy and was like, "Was she like, weird with you like she was with me?" And dude was like, "No, it was nothing. Nothing was wrong with her." It says it right there in the article. I mean, y'all have to read it. He like lays it down, and she was fine. And to me, going back and thinking about this, I always wonder what it was between the two of them, because they never touched. They were never like loving anything. It always felt like there was tension. And instead of season 2 letting them get divorced, they just killed him. And I bet you they did that because she didn't want him back on there. I bet you in some meeting somewhere, she said she did not want him back on there, and he wouldn't do it. Yes, Allie Larder was buck naked in Varsity Blues, covered in whipped cream bikini. Did not, and you don't hear nothing about her saying nothing about that. So,
that's evident that way about this black man that she had to be have a family character with, and that just sucks. Like I just hate that he said that. I think what bothers me is that he said that his light was dim, and it's like you don't know how that affects somebody that's an actor that's black in that time frame trying to make a career of what he's trying to do. So
Yep.
Yeah.
And then he said the final episode, there was like so many microaggressions going on then too. Like on the script, it had "we are a family." It had this little verbiage about being a family and keeping family stuff together and internal. Basically, don't run your mouth after you get out of here. Because I'm thinking if y'all was a family, then y'all would be backing him up and calling her on her bullshit. This girl should not be doing this. And so,
But let it be a black
then
woman who
she
came and did that.
Yeah. Right. No, she wouldn't have got that far.
whole
She wouldn't have got that far. As soon as she said, "I'm not taking my strap off," they would have said, "Next." Who we got? Who we got in the back room? Come on.
Right. We would have been fired.
Next.
That goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like these black actors, they are backed into a corner when it comes to these situations, and it's just really messed up.
Yeah.
That they're worried about their career, because if they did leave the show, well, who's to say what would happen after they left?
Oh my God. Okay, so look, I mean, another situation. Remember Gabrielle Union talking about what happened with her on her show? Look at how fast they replaced her. As soon as she opened her mouth, look at how fast they replaced her. It wasn't even a month. They had her replacement, and Gabrielle got some star power behind her. And she still, they was like, next, what we got? You pull the next one in here. But no, this girl, this white girl, they have to sit and they have to talk to her and they have to placate her and they have to make sure she's comfortable and they have to make sure and it's like, go on, get out of here with this mess.
Yeah, and what really got me about that when Leonard was talking about telling his story was how when he finally sat down with Krieg and the other guy and was talking about his situation, Krieg was gonna lament, well, sometimes I just wish it can just go back. I wish I didn't have to be, in charge and have to handle this, and I could just go and write. And it's like, that's such a privileged statement to make, because that just shows the lack of empathy, and you just want to be absolving. It's the age-old white, oh man, I just don't want it to be political, or I'm tired of things being racist. And it's like, you like, okay, I'm so glad you have the privilege to experience that and utter those phrases and try to create a space where you don't have to. But for people of color, black men, black women, Asian women, Asian men, Hispanic men, Hispanic women, LGBT, we collectively don't have that luxury. We still have to deal with that on a day-to-day. And specifically with you being the showrunner, the head honcho, and your response to that is essentially, oh, well, man, that's just so gosh darn much. Man, I hate that it's happening to you, when you could have made the stance about it. And then he literally brought up how it was a we situation, but he was the only one being addressed. He was the only one that had to be sat down and talked about and everything. And then even for the trivialization of the incident with him and Larder. So it sucks. It sucks, and it again is a microcosm of a larger issue of being black people having to always be grateful for whatever they get, and the feeling that they can't shake the table, or they have to just roll with the punches, when that shouldn't be the issue with this. And specifically in this situation where he was 100% accosted, and then not even going to bring up the fact that he was 100% professional, 100%, rolling with the punches, trying not to make a scene, doing what the quote unquote good thing is, and not be a distraction, and he still suffered for it. It was bogus. It was bogus.
Yeah, it was. And you're right. The fact that it's business as usual for if you talk to any And I've done interviews with people who've been in Hollywood for years, and you talk to every one of them, and they will tell you this is par for the course. It's business as usual. And you just got to learn how to play it. You got to learn how to you only survive in this business by learning basically how to be black in here, and you expect it, and that to me that's sad. It's really sad that we've come to this point where you have to have this type of strategy to go to make it in Hollywood, to make it in any business. I mean, anywhere else, this will be called out. There's just like when I talked to Major Tucker, we talked about how there are systems, there are hierarchies. You could go somewhere, you can get this knocked out. He could have gone that day, and if it was like an office or something, gone to HR, talked to them about this, and got something done about it. Hollywood, they don't have these hierarchies. The actors are basically freelancers, and they have unions, but you have this thing where the unions, you have to prove the racism, you have to prove that you prove that racism, prove that they intended the racism, and it's just so many webs and things you got to go through. It's so sticky, and it's I don't know. That's why I keep saying it's insidious, because it's really, there's no way to get through it and to make it. This system has to be dismantled. It does.
Yes.
It does.
Absolutely. And just continuing on from that point of just the system failing and being just a complete and total shit show. Earlier this week, and late last week, I guess you can say, it was revealed, Warner Media put out an official statement saying that remedial action will be taken against those who were involved with any sort of accosting actions against the cast and crew of Justice League, something Ray Fisher spearheaded something Ray Fisher was spearheading and wanting to see get his due diligence because of the actions of Jeff Johns, John Berg, and Joss Whedon. And it seems like those actions are taking place. Last month, or this month, Joss Whedon left his HBO Max series, The Leftovers, and as of today, he had another Freeform series in development that was dropped. They dropped it, and of course, we haven't seen any official titles from Jeff Johns as far as comic-wise or even television-wise, and same goes for John Berg, to my knowledge. And a funny thing happened today. And not today, but just in general, a funny thing happened. And I was sitting here thinking, when Zack Snyder put out an article, was interviewed for an article for Entertainment Weekly, I want to say Monday or Sunday, and he said that, Justice League, this might be rated R, and Batman says an F-bomb, he drops an F-bomb. All of these usual suspects came out and was so like, I can't believe Batman saying the F word. It's just another example of the edgelord, dark, cool, to do whatever Zack Snyder has going on. But they were they were intentionally silent throughout this entire ordeal with Ray, with Ray and everything. And it just goes to show me that this feeling is still felt, not just in Hollywood, but with the people and the movers and the critiquers, the bloggers who are responsible for, to the casual audience, giving them the information. And what I mean by that is this. John Boyega, about a month and a half after Ray first let the world know what happened in his desire to push for justice, he came out and he expressed his anger. He expressed his disappointment with his role being reduced for the Star Wars sequel trilogy. And he talked about how You know, in episodes 8 and 9, he was severely reduced as a character, and his frustrations and his feelings of racism that was associated with those decisions. And everybody was out there wringing Disney's neck, getting on their case, bashing Star Wars as they should, because from a black man's perspective, myself, it was atrocious. It was bogus to see. It was something that was disappointing, but I couldn't help but understand. I couldn't help but see and realize that they didn't have that same energy for Ray, whose claims, while similar, were a lot more egregious and a lot more detrimental to the cast and crew. It wasn't just a simple change of character, it was treatment, it was verbiage used, it was character being assassinated and opportunities being withheld. And so it's that, to me, is like the big, like this is just this factor of this white, I gotta call it this, white favoritism when it comes to expressing their frustrations and their empathy towards these black actors who are experiencing just general bullshit. Like it's that to me is the feeling. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought up the John Boyega thing, because while I've kind of been sitting back thinking about that in particular, everyone coming out in droves, it really does remind me of what happened this past summer when you had, the murders of Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and all the others, and everyone and their mom who is considered famous or, what have you, they had BLM in their profile, and this is just me as a black man speaking right now, not as a fan or anything else, but the favoritism, it always comes off as this sort of show, and even if these entertainers who have come out, in support for John, because they're also, directors of color and stuff that came out for that too, that same energy wasn't brought for Ray. And I'm thinking personally that's because what Ray is, really going after, that trickles down to people's jobs, it's not just, oh, we can champion this on the computer. We can have our publicists say this on Twitter or Instagram and support, it's all going to be great and blah, 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 blah. But when it is, a lot of the things that Ray is not even alleging at this point, but, giving out straight facts about. And when you have people who are not, not just Josh, John, and John, or Jeff, and, all the others, we're talking about other directors, other producers, other executives, everyone in Twitter has a list of them. They know who they are. And it's just, when it starts getting to that, let's go back to what we were talking about, black, Hollywood basically learned how to play a role in this age, that unfortunately we still live in. It's like, these black directors and creators are like, hey, you need to be quiet. You don't need to speak up because you're going to mess it up for all of us. That it's a syndrome I think we all know, far too well as black people in the corporate system. It's unfortunately effective, to the extent that it is, and it's killing any credibility at this point for what these celebrities want to have, because every time someone comes out now in support for these people, I'm just like, are you really here for this? Because where were you for Ray? Where were you when this man is stating straight up facts on facts, like, this is what's happening to this black man? Like, I don't want to even get into the black women that have suffered this, like it's completely unacceptable. It's unprofessional. And, we are not going to get anywhere as black people in the entertainment industry, or people of color in general, because we can talk about that, later, but we're not seeing a difference. And unfortunately, we're not going to see one until more people come out and say enough is enough, just like we had the protests. Exactly. We don't have that. Right.
a quick little thing. We're gonna add Key. She's joining us. Go ahead, Key. Let the good folks know who you is, and just hop right in when you feel comfortable.
I see a wave.
Yeah.
See, because they know Key. See the people in power. Go ahead, Key.
Shoot, I don't even know how I got here, but I made it. So there's that.
Yeah, we need to make sure Key's voice is heard on this one because this the one she really has a lot of great insight to this. So absolutely, go ahead and if you guys want to add on to it, Key. It's all good. We're waiting on you. We want you to hear.
She having difficulties again? Cool.
I think so.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, I will say she did have great points on this topic.
Yeah.
I mean, she strongly feels a way about how things are being done in the community, and as a Black woman, I feel like she does have good points for it. So you will hear her side of this because
absolutely
you
will hear her side on that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we talked about this week was even how the how just even the retaliation with some of the critics getting to see Wonder Woman 84, how there may have been retaliation with that, with some of the critics that are in with DC, that are DC fans. We talked about how even just the way the press is just handling him in his story and just kind of shoving him off to the side, like you guys have said. It's totally different. Boyega comes from fandom it's got more prestige. I mean, if you want to talk about it, you want to put it out there, Star Wars is a more prestigious fandom. It's when you talk about DC Comics, people kind of they kind of look down on the fans of that. And I think there's a point was made about how it was easier to just to champion certain causes until they start really affecting people, and you really have to. It's okay if I can just put Black Lives Matter or just a blackout square. I think Aaron was saying this. If that's all I got to do, if I have to actually get up, go outside and do something, then we got a problem, and we got to make sure, we got to investigate, we got to hem and haw, we got to maybe it's not racism, we got to and there was a lot actually in this fandom when I was trying to say, hey, can you see that this is whitewashing in this what Joss did? Can you see that this is not right? That there is racism in there, and there were people that were still like, well, maybe not, and we need all the facts, we need it all to come out. It's come out. All the facts are here. The WB said Ray was right. That's the one thing that I'm frustrated with, just as frustrated as Key is.
Because of
y'all was waiting for a verdict to happen. Y'all was waiting for all the facts to come out. Y'all was waiting for the investigation to conclude. It's come out. The verdict is here. The investigation is done. They said that he was right. But y'all don't want to talk about that, though.
I mean, because it's the truth. At the end of the day, it's the truth. Everything that happened to Ray is the truth. And I think nobody wants to see the truth, but I mean, it's the truth. I mean, yes, it happened.
And with Leonard, I bet you this variety piece was amazing. I don't think it's going to get much play. I don't. There was also a good piece in Pajiba that was one of Ray Fisher's friends wrote about him. It was so sweet. Y'all have to read it. It was so sweet. And it wrote about him being a friend and how this everything he's done to help champion other. I mean, there were 80. He said there were 80 other people that he was speaking for. He was taking the hits for 80 people behind him. And his friend said that's on brand for him. That's who he is. That's who he always is. And so it's this is not something that he's like acting. This is not something that's pretend. This is not a facade that's going on. But just the fact that it's being ignored, I guess that goes back to that passivity that we talked about with Leonard. The same thing, people just being passive about it. Just like, okay, we don't have to. It's there. We don't have to touch it. You don't touch it. You don't say nothing. And we just let it just do what it do, and it'll go away. And I think that's why we're here, because we're not gonna let it go away. We're gonna keep bringing it up, keep bringing it up, keep bringing it up. So, and I just want to say that we are so happy and so proud that we have someone, that there's someone like Ray out there, to inspire people to do the right thing when it's not popular, to do the right thing when it's not the when you're told that not to, when you're told to stand down, when you're told that it's dangerous for your career. Letting this stand as Hollywood business as usual. It's time up for that. And I know that a lot of people out there that are in the business, you got to, because you got to earn a paycheck. But if you really got the means and you really got the time, you need to be, putting forth some some of that Borg life energy, and standing up and speaking out. The more people that does it, they'll be forced to. Just like when in this fandom, whenever stuff started coming out, and they were forced to admit that the whitewashing did happen, and Josh is, toxic. It took a bit, but it happened. So I think that if more people like Leonard, like Ray, he come out, then it'll eventually, people will eventually start taking it seriously.
Yeah,
they have no choice.
I want to point out this one comment real quick, because I think this is like the truth. Kit Stone said, they see the truth, but they don't want the truth to affect their dollars. Now that is key.
Mm-hmm.
I really feel like that is like some real things right there. Shout out to Kit Stone for that comment, because I feel like that's
and I can see Ali Lauder thinking to herself that if I kiss this black man, and if I get undressed to this black man, are they gonna put me in other movies later? So, yeah.
And see, really, when you say that, that makes me think of how they treated the black actors on the set of Birth of a Nation and Gone with the Wind. And that's way back in the day. Like the fact that we haven't changed, that speaks on just how nothing's changed. They use different words, but nothing's changed.
Yep. So yeah. So what do you think, Key?
Yeah, we definitely want to hear you.
What's the topic?
We're talking about what Ray's been going through, about what Leonard Roberts just put to the general public's knowledge about what he went through on season 1 of Heroes. Just the basic favoritism of, it seems like, with white media on who they want to pick and choose, which black actor they want to get behind and champion.
You know what? Actually, the thing of it is, it's not even just white media, but it's with black media as well. Because to bring this, not to, bring the past up, but when John Boyega's story hit out, every single freaking big name black person you could see was there defending him. When Ray's stuff came out, there was no support. Like it was like slow getting the support. So my thing is, why is it that one situation is better than the other? Because if you want to be technical about it, the reason why John was mad is like slim to why Ray was mad. If we can be a buck about it, but one got preferential treatment over someone else, all because they didn't like the movie that Ray was a part of, which in my opinion is absolute bullshit. That shouldn't be the case when a black actor is being mistreated. It shouldn't be like, well, he's a part of this movie I don't like, so I don't care. That's stupid. At the end of the day, everybody's still black. So they all should be getting the same care, same concern, and same notoriety. It shouldn't just be, well, he's a part of Marvel, so we're going to pay attention to him, or he's a part of Star Wars, so we're going to pay attention to him. He's part of this, so we ain't going to pay attention to him. Everybody should be getting the same concerns.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And that's what I was talking about with them hierarchies in the fandoms. There are hierarchies in the fandoms, and it kind of affects who's going to follow what story. So yeah, and the racism just kind of complicates it even further, which is sad. It's really sad.
It's absolutely sad. It shouldn't be like that, because at the end of the day, we're all black. We're all going to be going through this type of bullshit on a constant. It shouldn't be a favoritism of who you think deserves pity more. But yet here we are having this conversation.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that Leonard got his in Variety, because it's more notoriety. You know, yes, that he gets the word out there better. But I think that Ray's, I really think that Ray's, it should have been, he should be out there. His stuff should be, his story should have gotten more publicity. I mean, it really should. Really should.
And the thing of it is, I'm starting to notice now, it's like, I don't know if y'all touched base on this yet or not, but I'm starting to see that Warner Brothers is trying to be spiteful lately towards POCs because of what Ray has done.
Yeah. That's literally like right on the money. You hit the fucking bullseye, because and Joe can really get into it, but a lot of people of color, LGBT, just a lot of the marginalized, just to make it all encompassing, a lot of marginalized critic and people enthusiastic about DC products were excluded from the early screenings for Wonder Woman 84. But a lot of YouTube influencers and people who don't give a shit about the brand, and just general people, like just the people that aren't like the white folks. I'm just fucking. I'm being nothing. Like I'm getting angry, so I'm about to channel that. It's a bunch of white influencers who don't interact with the brand. They were given this opportunity. Bunch of white dudes over marginalized groups like women of color, LGBT, disabled people that Patty has openly admitted to making the movie for and speak to them about. And they were excluded about this. Because go back what he said about Ray and about what was going on in that regard and punishing the fans, because a lot of those marginalized fans did believe Ray, take him at his word, as we should have. And it seems like certain individuals, whether it's right or wrong, who I wouldn't put it past Warner Brothers, to be quite honest with you, speaking solely for myself. It seemed like they were. It's like a punishment, really. It's like, oh, you guys didn't believe us, so we're going to exclude you from this narrative of something you really wanted to see. You're going to see it on HBO Max anyway. It's free. It's effectively free, and it seemed like. And it's multiple steps back from a couple of steps forward when you have people who fit the criteria of representing a diverse a diverse group of people critiquing and reviewing and interviewing for this movie, and they're completely excluded for the whitest of white bread people. Like it's unsavory to think about. It's bogus when you really start thinking about it, and it's just it's bogus. And I know a couple of them got December 22nd screeners after the fact, but that's still after a majority of people, you know, the like for those who don't know, there's tiers to it. You have the early Twitter reactions, and then you have the early reviews, and then you have the reviews that happen every like those are the tiers. And generally, the earlier you get access to the movie, the more content you'll be able to produce and have it put out for the public to see and understand you were able to see it early. And a lot of these marginalized groups who cover this stuff was ignored and left out of it. And now they get the December 22nd, 3 days before the movie hits HBO Max. So now their coverage isn't as in depth for a longer period of time. So it's bogus. And I'm gonna throw it to y'all because y'all can verbalize it much better than I can because y'all are goats.
Yeah.
But
Here's my thing.
That is correct. But go ahead.
It's bullshit because it's starting to look like, from my perspective, it's because now they have to get rid of Josh. That's what the point. That's what it's looked like. They know they have to get rid of him. We've seen it left and right. He's getting dropped from every single thing he's been working on. So it's clear as day. It's going to be an announcement soon that he's no longer with WB. WB is mad because they were trying to sweep all of this under the rug. Why? Because they wanted to get rid of Zach. Period. Point blank in the day. That's the point. That's why they had that Justice League mess. That's why they did all this other stuff, because they're trying to forget that Zach was a part of DCU. But Ray came out, told his story. The pan got hot. They couldn't hide anymore. People started believing him, started listening to him. So now they're like, you know what? We're going to punish y'all. That's what we're going to do. And you know what? That's not punishment. You're just going to piss us off even more because it will be louder.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because in my opinion, because I noticed, because I try to keep up with a lot of in terms of like who's running the show, behind closed doors, and I noticed around the time of Fandom, a lot of people who were making the rules basically ran. They there was one person who is now in charge of most of Amazon's publicity, when they were there for DC. And I'm just like, okay, what is really going on? Whose feathers have really been ruffled here? Because we're obviously at a point where there's no going back. You can't sweep this under the rug at this point. There's no secrets. There's no secrets to be had. And I'm with you, Key. I have a feeling, and Q too, honestly, because I have a feeling that most of these, people that have been ignored for the screeners, it's starting to really show their true colors, because as somebody pointed out, it was really hilarious, but it's true. It's a link. You can watermark, the screener's name, person you're giving it to, but this is a whole link. You can't run out of links. This is a very this is a very calculated approach to not send it to marginalized groups, because that's not your target audience. But you have to say that with your chest. But if you do, you lose, diversity points. And if you do that, then you don't look diverse. And if you don't look diverse, you lose, the dollars of everyone you're trying so hard and desperately to get. Yep. And it's not working. This is 2020, for all that's happening. It's about exposing folks,
this is
for better or for worse.
This is absolutely the wrong year for Warner Brothers to be trying.
Yes.
It's the wrong year. We've seen left and right, from TikTok to Twitter to Facebook to YouTube. Yep. People are getting exposed left and right for their bullshit. And Warner Brothers wants to think, oh, we can get away with this. You're not going to get away with this. Because we're going to keep pointing it out. until you guys realize, okay, we can't keep doing this no more.
Yeah, 100%.
And the thing, yeah, the thing is, there's a report that recently came out. Anita Hill, I know you guys remember her from the big Justice Clarence Thomas in the big 90s lawsuit. Well, she's gotten this commission together, and she's the head of this commission in Hollywood that talks about diversity in Hollywood. And the commission has been going for over a year, and they found that diverse properties, diverse films, diverse shows, diverse stories, they make the most money. These properties that have diverse, not only cast, but crew, creators, people behind the camera, they have the formula to make more money. They get more at the box office, they get more viewers. This has been, and she says in this report, it's not anything that's not known. This is something we've known for years now, for well over a decade. We've had numbers on it, but it's something that the studios are not acknowledging. They're still targeting the white people. They're still saying their target audience is still mainly these white people until some blackety black movie comes around. Then they want to do black press. And they're wanting to deny the fact that even though Patty has been around saying this is a diverse movie, it's about inclusion, and it's about all this stuff about this story, they still, you can still tell by the influencers they chose to have early access, and the few critics they chose to have early access, that their target audience is still white men. White men. Even though we have all these numbers, all this proof, we have proof. Look at Crazy, the Crazy Rich Asians movie. How much money that made, how powerful it was. I mean, look at Black Panther, look at Aquaman, look at all these. You've got all these diverse properties that have made so much money for these studios, and they still can't break away from that. We got to target white guys for comic movies. And I can tell you that's what it is, because that's who the early access went to. And so now you've got people like me who are people who look like me, even ones who are right for bigger paper, a lot bigger publications, a lot bigger markets. We're stuck with a screening. Shout out to the black publicist over there, the multicultural department and Warner Brothers. Y'all are miracle workers for putting this together, letting us get some access. We appreciate y'all. I mean, people out there watching, y'all don't understand how hard it is to be black press without having them publicists that are black and that are press and know our struggle, and who pull the strings to get us in to these things and get us access that we need. Without them, they're like our little fairy godmothers. I mean, and got our fairy godparents. Without them, we would not. This would not be happening, because it would all go to them. And so, but even though we're getting this screening, which is the link, and no, links don't have seats. You don't fall out of. You can't say there's too many of them. There's not enough. There's scarcity. We get a link the 22nd. We got to scramble to get something up. There's going to be a bunch of us scrambling to get something up. The traffic is going to be split between all of the. It's just not going to be. We're not going to have the traffic. We're not going to get the payback as if we would have gone in earlier. So it is penalizing. Whether they're penalizing us for Ray, probably are. And I think that it's a little of both. I think it's a little bit of Warner Brothers being Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers being salty.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I feel like that's a very on the money thing. And just to go and I want to keep coming back to this, because this industry racial BS is just so rampant, and it's not even just when it comes to movies. It's also comics, video games, television, all of that stuff. It's just music. It's all of this shit that just won't stop being a thing, despite these changes and these people wanting the changes, and it doesn't make it's not showing. The proof ain't in the pudding. The rubber ain't hitting the road. And like I think about the comic equivalent to this, which would be, you look at a lot of these black writers that exist in comics, and a large majority of them have to have these Pulitzer, Eisner winning stories or poems or articles in these other high-end magazines, websites, what have you, just to do an out of continuity book. You know what I mean? And you have some overs from previous generations, previous decades, but though their voices are, lack of a better term, not outdated, but you know what they're gonna do. They're not gonna do anything that reflects necessarily the culture as of today. Matter of fact, they'll probably won't even be writing a black character. Christopher Breeze is the most prominent black writer I can think of today, with equity and cachet that isn't of the last 5 years, but of 10, however. And all he do, like the last two things he wrote is just white dudes, Deathstroke and U.S. Agent. He did have his run on Black Panther back in the day, but that's so far removed from the current cultural zeitgeist. I understand that there'll be people like, well, they just want general opportunities. They don't need to necessarily write a black character, but still, when they do write the black characters, it's never on something that, not to say matters, but that DC or Marvel will let matter, unless it's not even saying that, like unless it's something that they have, that they like with Marvel specifically, they have something in the pipeline where they're going to make a movie about it, so they want to build some sort of equity, even though the studio is not going to necessarily go to them, because the studio hates the comic side for good reason, because the comic side are a bunch of dickheads. But that connection won't go, and that all it ends up doing is wasted time and potential, because they'll look at the sales and then they'll be like, this underperformed, so we're gonna just cut the knees, right? Cut it at its knees, and maybe we'll make it a digital book. Maybe we'll give them a YA novel we won't promote or anything like it. And so it's this feeling, and I call it, and I say this is a syndrome of these white comic book writers, white comic book editors, thinking that they're doing a service by just giving the most bare minimum opportunity to these writers of color, Black, Asian, Hispanic, what have you. They think that because we're giving you this minimal space, we're doing our part, like Stan Lee and Jack Kirby did, but not realizing that they ain't got the same type. They're not built like Stan and Jack was. Stan and Jack was really about it, really about inclusivity, diversity, all of those things, pushing for it hard, for standing against their peers who either did not want it or did not care for it to exist. A lot of
people to hang out on HBCU campuses. I mean, like go out there and just hang.
Yeah, like
I'm telling you,
so yeah, they cannot say they're trying to do that, trying to be like, well, Stan and Jack can write these. No, y'all ain't hanging out on these HBCUs, probably stepping with that. There's no, I mean, just the idea of a young Stan Lee trying to step.
As an HBCU graduate, I have to say, as an HBCU graduate, the experience, you will never experience anything like an HBCU, period. And the fact that they were willing to go to one expresses everything. But you don't see comic book, like they're writing a character who's Black. You don't see any comic book writer actually going on a HBCU campus or trying to be involved in the Black experience. And that's where they fall off every single time. But like you said, Jack and Stan were about it. They're about that life. So, all right, let's go to Morehouse for this homecoming. Let's see what they got popping over here. Let's go to Howard. Let's go here. Let's go there. It's just, and it just sucks that comic book writers don't do that anymore. Like, they don't really try to make that immersive experience to where they know what's going on as far as our culture is concerned. It's just,
and it shows.
Yeah, and I'm gonna take you. I'm gonna take it a step further with it, and I'm gonna say like just a prime example for me since Jonathan Hickman in the squad on the X books started Dawn of X, House of X, and creating the nation of Krakoa, the laws and everything, and just generally how they've gone about it. I've seen a lot of these white, I'm gonna call it a spade a spade. I'm gonna call them these white bloggers, website writers, critics, trying to paint them as fascists, constantly invoking Chris Claremont's run on the X-Men. God loves man kills. It was the same bullshit they were pulling when the Scott Summers was evil phase, and when he was thinking about mutant kind first. And I call that this, and again, I'm calling it like I see it. It's this white people thinking that okay, if we go ahead and just the way that racial topics all should be handled is on base level of the Martin Luther King "I Have a Dream" speech. If it ain't abiding by them rules, then it's too much. It's too loud. It's too rambunctious. It's not going to solve anything. And I'm looking at the actual fan base, the LGBT fans, the Black fans, the Hispanic fans, the multicultural fans that make up 100% of the X-Men's core fan base, and they're loving it. They're loving what it's offering. Why? Because this is the fantasy, the power fantasy of inclusivity, of people getting of people who are marginalized and hated and being killed for being different, which is what we as a marginalized group, as Blacks, as Hispanics, as Asians, as LGBT, all of us have experienced that. And then you're saying that our allegory, our general allegory of that in the X-Men have said we're going to create a nation that protects us, that loves us, that inspires us, that accepts us. And yeah, we'll still do the superhero shit, but we're not going to take any more shit. And that to me speaks to like that tells me that there's like it's the marginalized acceptability. We will only accept so much of you asking for respect and asking for dignity before we try to paint it as being too extreme. And it comes from, in my opinion, this white mediocrity mindset that 99% of these Marvel writers have for themselves. This is why they cling to characters like Hawkeye, like Howard the Duck, like the Avengers and everything. I've said it. The Avengers are a bunch of mediocre white women and white guys who pat themselves on the back because a Black guy tells them they're Earth's mightiest heroes. That's what they are. Just flat foot MCU. If you want to say the MCU and categorize that, then fine, you can go ahead. But generally speaking, that's what they are. They're the least qualified 99% of the time at their jobs. They have acid, and because they barely scrape by. You see it in
and not to cut you off, Q. But 90% of the stuff they do and have to deal with is cleaning up another white person's shit.
Yeah, that's exactly that. It's exactly that, and that speaks.
It's basically Democrats and Republicans, if we can be serious.
It speaks. It speaks to them. It speaks to this in my mind of these some of these white liberals as a Black person who identifies as liberal and liberal minded in a lot of areas. I'm not going to fucking critique this. I can fucking critique this considering how many white folks try to speak on my behalf and on Key's behalf and on all of our behalfs. Is that y'all fucking suck at the job? Y'all fucking suck because every time y'all see some sort of white mediocrity or white people barely getting scraped by, y'all throw your hands in the air. And when it's not challenging you, you go, "Oh, this is good." There's nothing about the Avengers as superheroes that challenges the white people to think differently, to do differently, to be better than what they are. They just go, "Oh, you can be as mediocre as you can." But if there's enough mediocre people, then you can half-ass save the day. And especially if the Black guy says, "All right, you guys are fine in my book." That's what is reflective in what I feel like I'm seeing. But then you have a movie like Man of Steel and BVS that talks about accountability, that shows Superman giving a shit and feeling like he's failing when he can't do for everyone like he thinks he can. Oh, they go, oh, he's just not smiling all the time. Oh, he's so grimdark. No, you dipshits. He's feeling angst and sadness because he can't, he's feeling like he's still failing. And you can pull up all of these Silver Age feats out your ass all you want, but that's the point. He can do all of that shit, and he still can't solve everyone's problems and make them happy like he want. Batman,
the reality is being shown. Yep.
Right.
Batman, a person who had a no-kill rule, had strict guidelines, trusted people, and saw it fail, saw his world crumble. Then he says, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna do what needs to be done."
Yes, he says, "Fuck."
like
Yes.
and the reason why so many of these white bloggers, white critics, white in superhero nerds have a general problem with it, and like the majority of them do, because it's challenging you. It's challenging them to think you're not as great as you think you are. Your basic bitch thinking isn't helping anyone. You have to think wider. You have to accept failure, and you have to take a step back. Sometimes you have to go ahead and take a bullet for those who can't. Be the one to sacrifice yourself to protect the people that are risking their lives. Why, if you have the power and the means to end a threat that will basically is like, if you're super, that's what I got out of that ending to BVS. That's what I'm alluding to. When Superman picked up the spear and flew and sacrificed himself to kill Doomsday. Batman, people were like, oh, Batman could have did it. And Wonder Woman was obviously holding him back, so she couldn't reach out and get the spear. But Superman's not gonna let Batman or anyone else risk their lives for something he can do, because he can do anything. And Bruce is going to try to make good. He's going to remember, because that's what somebody does. If somebody fucks up the entire time, and we want them to hold themselves accountable and do better. That's what
you're
Bruce
actually defending Batman.
That's another topic.
Don't stop him. He should. Yeah, don't get him off. No, don't get him off.
No. The only reason she said that is because
y'all are going to get me off track. Y'all want that?
Yeah, that's why I was saying don't let him jump the track, y'all. He's good. Because I want to tell y'all, I've had this conversation with fans in Twitter talking about this idea of abjection, this idea of you are like BVS. They're getting this idea of Batman, of a superhero, of Superman. These ideas of the reality of their situation, how they can't do everything, how they are, there are situations that they cannot solve. And when people are faced with these ideas and they're faced with these moments where they have to really think about, like, hard about these superhero characters, it makes them uncomfortable. It gives them this feeling of unease, this feeling that they don't really like, this feeling of cringy, like I don't like this feeling, I don't like this, I don't like this feeling, I don't like this. They translate that to I don't like this film. This film is bad. But no, honey, the film is not bad. What you're feeling is abjection. What you're feeling, you're having an abject feeling to the film. What you need to do is sit back with that and think about why you have all these feelings running through you about a movie. And then you can start talking about this film. But if you have all these feelings of just like insecurity, unsafeness, uncomfortability, cringy, like if it makes you just really, because some of these people just like get like irate, like when you talk about BVS, and if it makes you like that, then you're having an abject feeling to the film, and you need to see why that is. And I'm telling you, Q is right on about why that is because they cannot. It goes against that whole you cannot be mediocre and be a superhero and be all right. You have to be real. You have to go 100%. You have to sacrifice. You have to struggle. You have to have all these complexities in there before it can really. You can really be called, a hero of any kind. And that idea just does not sit well with a lot of people.
And the thing of it is, it's kind of ironic you say that in hindsight, because some of these same people that didn't care for Batman versus Superman, or just don't care for the whole Zack Snyder plot ideas in general, were some of the same people that were breaking their backs to defend Nick Spencer when he wrote Hydra Captain America.
Exactly.
That's what gets me confused. Y'all over here defending a freaking icon that was made after World War II, becoming a white supremacist for
Just
because you wanted to do
white
it.
explain Nazism to a bunch of Nazis who already made up their fucking
Exactly.
mind to be Nazi.
But y'all were defending it as creativity and as doing something different. Is that not what Zach is doing?
It's ludicrous.
That doesn't cause them to think any differently.
It does. They don't want to be held accountable.
Yeah. Can I share my theory though? Not my theory, my family theory. About Marvel and their heroes they like to put up as diverse. So this is mine, and I have to say this theory was came up with actually by my husband, and he's a white guy, so I guess spending 20 some odd years with a black woman to teach you some things. And so we watched Black Panther, and he was like, the first time we watched it multiple times in theater. He was kind of a little upset, and he said the reason why he was, I'm like, okay, you can't be upset about this. What we just saw, this is like, groundbreaking, powerful shit. You were not about to pull me. You're not about to do this to me right now. And he said, it bothered him because T'Challa had to have his own space, his own country outside of America in order to be black. Yes. And I had been talking to him about code switching, about how black people, you have to be a certain way in one space, and white spaces where you have to be buttoned up, you have to be like your best looking, your best acting, silent, basically the acceptable person. You have to be acceptable to them. You have to comfort them, and they can't find anything that's like challenging about you. But when we get in our own spaces, we can break down, we can be loud, and he's witnessed this several times. He's played spades with my family. He's seen it. So he said it bothered him that T'Challa he had to go back to his country in order to be himself. And so he started thinking about some of the Marvel characters they've given us for black people, and this man is raising black kids with me. So we talk about these things. Like Miles Morales, if you look at the comics, Miles, his uncle is a criminal, and he got all this, and Miles steals, Riri, she stole the suit. If you go back to looking at Luke Cage is a felon. All the black characters in the Marvelverse, they're trying to give us, that they gave us in movies and in TV series, they either had to be, they had to have a start in a criminal background, they've had a military start, or they are other, meaning they're not American, and they're not even American, or they're not even human.
Exactly, like they can't just be regular
people.
Walk down the street.
They can't be a school teacher, a school principal like Black Lightning. They can't be just a regular black dude. They have to be something. It have to be criminal background, military, or other. Somehow
like the struggle of a person of color. Like you gotta see the struggle of that person.
And it goes back to what Q was saying. It's about how I think it goes back to what Q was saying. It's how they're not even in touch with. They're writing black people according to what white people who have not been around black people think black people are.
Yeah,
it gives me very much Tyler Perry.
Yeah, same. Same. And it's like, it's like I see something going back to the X-Men point, and I see so many, just to throw that word fascist out there, and it's like I always ask myself, and not even that, but when the white blogger of the world who hates, hate on the Snyder movies and will talk over black women, black men, black and Hispanic, Asian fans, and just ignore them when we defend Snyder and go, yeah, well, like it's almost like we gotta give them my card, like, oh yeah, I've been stopped by the police coming home at 1 o'clock from the movie theater. I've been racially profiled. I've been called the N-word. Now
it's like we have to have twice as much to be listened to.
It's
right.
It's so freaking ridiculous that we have to go through all this crap just to prove that, hey, we like Zack Snyder.
Yeah, and I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it a step further. It's performative as fuck. It's performative as all fuck, and it's like I'm not trying to. You're not finna sit here and lament how or gritted teeth typed out the Snyder cut. No, because fucker, you sat back and you have just painted my black ass as a neo-Nazi, not knowing my story. Damn sure not listening to me talk for the better half of 3 years, and you use all of these inflammatory words and statements about this director who you don't know. Every time something comes up and people defend him, you have these reasonings to do so, and then you turn around when an actor who's a black actor who goes up for him says he's been accosted and gives you these reasons and these channels, and you're silent, literal radio silence, intentionally.
Once again, all because of a stupid ass movie you don't fuck with. You hear yourselves. Honestly hear yourselves. You refuse to believe anything happened to this black man all because he's attached to a white person's movie. If that was the case, a whole lot of stuff shouldn't be believed right now. A lot of stuff.
Yeah. It's 100% just fucking. It's stupid. It's stupid, and it's like it's. I don't know. It's and then this is how I developed this mindset about the white mediocrity angle, and because it's like. There's no I'm not a fucking neo-Nazi. I'm not an incel. I'm not misogynist. I'm none of the above. I've been, for those who wants to check my black card, I've been stopped by the police off of bullshit reasonings, coming home from watching a garbage ass horror movie with my cousins and getting bitched at and being made fun of by the police officer because I was wearing an Iron Man hoodie of all reasonings. I've been racially profiled on the grounds of my apartment complex for simply sitting outside at 9 o'clock in Georgia. You had racist slurs thrown at me in high school, going to high school in Georgia, in Memphis, and the whatnots, having teachers, make borderline racist comments at me, and because I'm a black kid, and I wear black centric clothes and shit like that. I've had to deal with that. So me liking this movie it's flat out racist when you say that, and you ignore the litany of all of these other black fans, Hispanic fans, Asian fans, and paint them as that, and don't want to take the step back. And because you want to live in this world you created of white mediocrity, you're going to try to preach to me, my black ass, the virtue and the virtues and the reality of inclusivity and diversity and what counts and what no, like you don't say that. If you don't like his movies, and if you don't like his movies, say that. If you don't think if this is your base level understanding on black characters, say that. Stop trying to paint it like you're doing it a favor at these different places. Stop doing that and then trying to paint it like you're doing something groundbreaking. You're not.
And then stop trying to use this is another. I don't know if we're gonna get into this topic tonight or not, or whatever. But stop trying to use black fans to basically make it seem like you're not a racist piece of shit.
That whole thing encompasses so much of just it's so much shit that's going on. It's like, and it goes to the topic. It goes back to the topic of not only do black folks don't have the luxury of being able to express themselves in a environment that's not built by them. They basically have to code switch, like Joe brought up. But also going back to like what Keith said, like if these folks apologize and go, "Oh, I'm sorry for that," it's it's like, oh, we as Black people have to just take that apology at face value and move on. We can't press it. We can't be upset. We can't say we're done with it, because if we do, then we're opening up the door to. We're just opening up the door to just, oh, well, see, I tried to do this, but you didn't want to accept it. You didn't want to do that, and it's horseshit. It's
They become the victim.
Yeah.
Yep.
it's general horseshit, and it's like
exhausting because we don't get this type of grace and mercy. We don't get to have this, especially, and not to exclude y'all, but as especially Black women, we don't get this type of reprieve where we can say, oh, so and so, but come back, apologize, and try to grow from it. We don't get that. We get crucified.
Yeah,
Even 10 years from now, we still get crucified for whatever we said, like in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's
Anita Hill, the head of the commission who's doing all this, in the 90s, this woman was like trying to say, y'all are trying to confirm a Black man just to get a Black man on the Supreme Court. This is not your Black man, because this is what he does to me on a daily basis. Like, some of the stuff he talked about was so bad, that she talked about was so bad. And I mean, it seemed like a lot of it it's not like he didn't deny it. He just made it seem like it wasn't that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes.
Look at how they tried to destroy Sister Soldier's career in the 90s.
Yep.
You know,
Anita still today.
And not even that, but I don't know.
Biden also was a part of that. I'm just saying.
I don't know if you guys, ever watch soap operas or not, but there was this Black actress on one of the soap operas on Young and the Restless, where she had talked about the mistreatment CBS had did and called it out, and basically she got her career destroyed. Like, that's what we get for speaking out. We get destroyed.
Another one I want to add. Will Smith, the reunion of the Fresh Prince.
Yes.
Yep.
yes,
Yes.
yeah.
It should not have taken this long.
That long.
Apology.
It should not have taken that long. Period.
Her career was done. She sounded like she was like damn near homeless, while he is like living it up. And he had and the fact that he said, I know he was being honest when he said he didn't know, but that spoke volumes to how Black women are treated. The fact that she's getting dogged out and he had no idea.
Yeah, I remember watching that and like just like that's like going just damn and just about all of that, because that was again a textbook example of just a microcosm of everything we're talking about. The way that they played Black favoritisms on who they were going to support, Will or the original Aunt Viv. And even though she had no blemishes on her career beforehand, Will Smith is the up-and-coming actor rapper. And, so at the time, they just thought, he was the one being accosted and destroyed her career. And then, again, for this whole, for about to be 30 years, fairly soon, she had nothing. She had nothing available to her that people were willing to consistently work with her as a basis, which was sent her in a spiral of depression, like she said, because they didn't want to believe her. She had to show this, that, and the third, and even then, she still was going up against this monolith. And then after the fact, she finally got her apology after so many years, and thankfully, it looks like at least Will didn't ask her, for this, that, and the third with that in that regard, but still, just the damage being done, and it's basically from what we're saying, comics are shit, and we're tired of the racial industry BS, because it's just so much of it, and it's like, damn, when are y'all gonna really listen to us like y'all say we will, like y'all say y'all do? When are y'all gonna really fucking listen? When are you going to just listen? Because the Ray Fisher situation proves you don't listen, and that you're biased, and then that regardless if he's a Black man, a Black woman, or whatever, if they're associated with a director you don't like, you're gonna pay it dust, if not make a joke out of it as it's breaking in real time. And with the comic situation, they're going to push the diversity points, whatever it is, but in secret they don't really either care, or they're very unequipped to do so and think that the basis bare minimum is what they need to do. And then if you're a blogger or a critic, you're going to do all of the above. You're going to be mediocre about it. You're not going to do your due diligence. You're going to just assume the basic stuff. You're going to put BLM in your bio and you're going to retweet some shit. But the moment a black fan gets on your ass because you say something that's completely beyond the pale, you're gonna say you're being attacked, or you're gonna pivot to some white guy who really is going even further beyond the pale, and try to use a blanket statement to absolve yourself and make yourself seem right. And we're done. We're tired of it. We're tired of it all. We're tired of everything, and it's just a lot. It's a literal lot that's going on with this. But let's table it, because we're getting rightfully angry. We're getting rightfully upset, and we have something good. We have something good to show. We'll re-show, mind you. Now, earlier we showed the trailer for what we'll be doing for those who missed the beginning, the Deck the Halls of Justice charity live stream event this Sunday, December 20th. Our time slot is at 9 a.m. Eastern, and we had a trailer for what we are doing. So I'm going to throw it to the trailer man.
Since 2004, there has been a director whose mere presence generates awe and conversation. A director whose name shakes the very foundation of the film industry. A director whose vision crafts unforgettable and lasting experiences. That director is Zack Snyder. And on December 20th, during Deck the Halls of Justice, we at MulDiversity will decide once and for all what is his magnum opus. 8 films, 8 years, 1 director, and 1 bracket. On Sunday, December 20th, MulDiversity will release the Snyder Cup. Tune in and help us raise money for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. This is why we fight, and this is us united.
Whoa, that was a different trailer than what we had at the beginning.
Gillis, I love you. I love Gillis.
Very viral. Very viral.
Mike was so excited. Mike was so excited. He cut me off halfway through.
Not that you said, hand it over to the trailer, and when you said that, that's when I pressed play. Don't do that.
I was trying. I was
to cut him off. You run his mouth a lot.
Oh, I know I love him, and I'm playing with him, and that he's one of the main people that I had to that was constantly telling me, put it out now, put it out now. I'm like, and then he convinced me to do it because he always believes in me. But yeah, definitely, that was the black and white version of the trailer. We got 2 trailers, as Gillis points out, the noir version, the like Zach did with the second, with his Justice League trailer, changing some things, made it black and white. We felt like we should go ahead and do the same. It'll be up on our Twitter in a few. It'll be on the YouTubes in a few more. Maybe not. I don't know. YouTube be acting crazy sometimes. But yeah, we had to get a little serious tonight. We had to get serious with the topics to let everyone know we're not playing. We're tired of this. We're tired of seeing this. One of these days, we are going to just talk about general fun shit and just talk about it, because we had a lot of funny topics we could have talked about. But
I mean, we're not going to let this go either. I mean, we're going to keep talking about it until something happens.
Right.
I mean, that's we stand for diversity. If you see our name, we stand for diversity. We are here to talk about the issues that a lot of people they talk about, but they don't talk about it. They glance over it. They hit just for the likes and the tweets, and that. No, we're here to actually get into it and actually break it down and, bring it to the forefront, because a lot of this stuff gets ignored. And we are here to, stand for that.
Yep. And that's what we're going to keep doing. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep doing it for as long as they keep fucking up. We're going to talk about it. And if they don't fuck up, we're going to talk about it regardless. We're going to let it be known because it needs to be known because they keep fucking up. I'm not going to say it again. But in any case, we're going to go around the table and let you know where they can be found at and what they got on the docket. So go ahead. We're going to start off with Key and spare no expense. Let these beautiful folks know where they can find you at.
Okay, you guys can find me on Twitter at Kerosene Lannister. It's all together. You don't have to space it out. You also can find me on here, and you can also find me on Q and K Talk Wrestling, which is basically two people bitching about Vince and Kennedy McMahon, and me thirsting over Roman Reigns. But what can I say? Also, tomorrow you can catch me on a special episode of Wonder Friends.
Whoop, whoop. Yes, sir.
Yep, at 8 p.m. Eastern time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I'll be there as well because Wonder Friends is put on by Women of the Watchtower. So me and my other crew, those are my girls. So we'll be putting that on tomorrow. You can find me at Jonita L. Davis. We're on social media. You can find my criticism, my more mouthing off about movies and films and everything on theblackcape.com and my videos on Black Cape Media. And you can also find me starting Monday, Mike, on The Mess.
Yes.
So
Avia.
Hi, I'm Avia. You can find me on social media at Avia Knighton on Twitter and Instagram, and also on Vero.
And of course, you can find me at @AaronMichael_J on Twitter and Vero. You can find me on To Lovecraft and Back with Mike, the wonderful Mike. You can also find me on Comic Book Debate writing articles, which I need to do. You can read wonderful things, especially about my favorite subject, New Gods, and just hang out with me anytime on Twitter.
Hey, and you can find me at Twitter at _oddgeek. For those, like Joe said, The Mess is coming on Monday. So if you have a chance, if you have HBO Max, check out The Undoing, check out The Flight Attendant. Those are the two top shows we will be talking about. And if you don't watch Lovecraft Country, you need to be watching it now because me and Aaron are breaking it down. We just released our 3rd episode talking about Holy Ghost. So you still have some time to catch up with it. Our time breaking that whole series down. So yeah, who else? This was a good night. Y'all got into it.
I missed literally everything.
We missed you as a result, Key. We really. Next week you're gonna be the first one to say something because I might just be because you're the lightning rod for the group. You are the awesome person in the awesome business of awesomeness. You're literally one half of my brain when we talk about wrestling. And apparently tonight, because I'm like, damn, I'm missing a lot of stuff. Where's Key? I'm going to look at Key and get all of the information I need. But in any case, nobody needs to see just my face. See everybody's face when
everybody who came out. Everybody that was in the chat.
Yes.
Gillis,
John, Kit, Tyra.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming out.
And for y'all little kids with the SpongeBob in the comments,
still dirty Dan.
Like,
when I have a SpongeBob episode,
DM us or send us a gift of your favorite SpongeBob episode. We are going to watch everybody's favorite SpongeBob episode.
They about to make me watch this damn show again. Y'all.
But in any case, I'm Quamon Star G. You can find me every Sunday night on Facebook Live with my brother Into the Q Universe, where we talk about everything geeky, gamey, and nerdy. You can follow me on Twitter at the name listed there below. You can find me here on MulDiversity chopping it up. As Key stated, you can find me and her on Q&K Talk Wrestling, where we talk about everything wrestling that interests us, from AEW, WWE, Impact, video games, live events, storylines, our own storylines, The Shield, Asuka, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte Flair, just in general. Find
He's
me also
talking about Roman Reigns.
talk about Roman Reigns. You can also find me on Comic Book Debate, as well as Aaron. I have my first major article repost. Whatever. I hope I'm using the right words. Top 10 our games we played this year. Should be handling that business Friday at some point. And Instagram in about 6 to 8 months, so I can get my Instagram body and starting back up my Twitch account. But none of that stuff is as cool and as interesting as MulDiversity, except for Into the Universe, because that's equal, and that's me being nepotistic as well in saying that. Make sure you watch Women of the Watchtower with Joe. Make sure you check out Key tomorrow on Wonder Friends. Make sure you watch To Lovecraft and Back from the Lovecraft Boys, Mike and Aaron. Make sure you look out for Avi and all of the dope stuff with her writing in general and everything, and hit her up for video editing skills. And make sure you slide her that nice hundo for her help. In any case, we are your keys to the MulDiversity, and we will see y'all later. Stay peace, everybody. Peace.
Peace.
Bye.